Hello and welcome to Spectrum News. I am Rachel David White, coming to you live from Oyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. Senate confirms Olukayode Shehu Hamajoda appointment. Federal government introduces centralized hub for tertiary education services. Plus, U.S. sanctions 10 Hamas members financial facilitators. We'll bring you details of the stories and many more in a moment. We begin the news this afternoon from the Red Chambers, where the Senate has confirmed the nominations of Ola Olukayode, Halima Shehu, and Mohammed Ahmadjoda. President Bola Tinubu had nominated Olukayode as the Chairman Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Shehu as the National Coordinator, National Social Investment Program Agency, and Mohammed Ahmadjoda as the new Secretary of the nation's Anti-Graft Agency. Meanwhile, the appointees were confirmed in the upper chamber today. Meanwhile, the Senate President Godswill Akpabio has announced in plenary Senator Lola Ashiru as the new deputy leader of the Senate. Ashiru, who represents Kwara North at the Red Chambers, replaces Senator Dave Umahi, who has been appointed as the Minister of Works by President Tinubu. Ashiru was previously the Deputy Whip of the Senate, and his former position has now been taken by Senator Onyekachi Nwebonyi, representing Ebonyi North. In the meantime, the Senate has stepped down to consideration of a motion calling for the reopening of the Nigeria-Niger borders. In a motion during plenary, Senator Suleiman Kwaku Somaila stated that the border closure had deteriorated economic activities in many border towns like Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina, Kebbi, Jigawa, Borno, and Yobe states. Somaila, while urging the federal government to consider reopening the borders, noted that the closure runs contrary to the provisions of the Nigeria Constitution that guarantees the security and welfare of the citizens. However, Senate President Godswill Akpabio said the Red Chamber has resolved to back the resolutions of the Economic Community of West African State ECOWAS on the political situation in Niger Republic. Akpabio therefore urged Senator Somaila to withdraw the motion, saying the reopening of the borders had security implications. In a related development, the House of Representatives has requested the federal government to reopen the country's borders with Niger Republic. The Green Parliamentary Assembly notably requested the federal government to unlock the borders of Maigatari, Maidoa, Kongwalam, and Ilela, while the resolution was passed at a plenary session after the motion presented by Kano member Aliyu Makadaki was adopted. The federal government shut the country's border with that of a neighboring country. Still from the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives has also assured of its resolve to ensure speedy passage of the 2024 appropriation bill when presented to the Parliament. The Chairman House Committee on Appropriations, Abubakar Bichi, who gave assurance in Abuja during the inaugural meeting of the Standing Committee, vowed to exercise its oversight jurisdiction over relevant government agencies and its monitoring of the budget implementation. Bichi reiterated the readiness to sustain the Financial Year Act through budget passage on or before December 31st to ensure the budget implementation from beginning of the year through to the end. He vowed that the committee will monitor implementation by all the ministries, departments, and agencies, insisting the committee's work is not only tied to budget appropriation. And now to Nigeria's leader, President Bola Tinubu, who has said that the era of exporting raw gold, lithium and other minerals is gone for good. The president made this known at the second day of the 8th edition of the Nigerian Mining Week, which was organized by the Miners Association of Nigeria in Abuja. Tinubu, who was represented by the Secretary to the government of the Federation, George Akume, said many local companies have adjusted their business plans to the new normal, urging others to do same. He added that the creation of a policy of value addition to mineral resources before exploitation by his administration was to halt the huge losses recorded through the export of unprocessed mineral commodities. Away from that, the federal government has unveiled a centralized hub for tertiary education services designed to bring educators, students and the academic community together. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahiru Maman, said the Innovation Tertiary Education Research Applications and Services (TERAS) is an information technology-based platform aimed at repositioning, strengthening and rekindling hope in the country's tertiary education system. Unveiling the initiative introduced by the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, in Abuja, the minister said the federal government will continue to provide beneficiary institutions and TED Fund with unwavering support to fully realize the potential of TERAS. In a separate development, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, says it will review sanctions for exporters of substandard products. The NAFDAC Director General Mojisola Adeyeye said this at a news conference while expressing displeasure at the level substandard goods were being rejected in some foreign countries. Adeyeye said the agency had been able to identify some of the reasons, including non-compliance to advisory guidelines established by NAFDAC to encourage participatory effort. She stated that almost all exported food products were processed without statutory testing by NAFDAC. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Omono yesterday promised to do everything within his power to maintain peace, unity and justice and asked the paramount rulers from the 31 local government areas to reciprocate his gesture in their respective domains in the state. The governor made this known when he played host to the paramount rulers drawn from all the 31 local government areas to seek ways of resolving the lingering issues around the leadership of the President General of the Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers at the State Executive Council Chambers, Uyo. The governor promised to sit down with the paramount rulers to look into how the matter can be resolved, but asked that the case instituted against the state government by a cross-section of the paramount rulers of Anang, Oro and Obolo extractions be withdrawn first, so government may not be in contempt of court. Speaking on behalf of Oro Nation, the paramount ruler of Mbo, His Royal Majesty Ogwang Okonasukwabang, apologized on behalf of the paramount rulers from Oro Nation for not attending the first meeting earlier called by the governor to resolve the matter. Similarly, the paramount ruler for Itemekbo, His Royal Majesty Professor Amanam Odo, also apologized to the governor for not being present at the earlier meeting. On his part, the paramount ruler of Ibesikwa Sultan Edidem Clement Ekpeyong thanked the governor for calling the meeting and promised to work with his colleagues to resolve the issue. Moving to Africa now, where the Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko says he has resumed a hunger strike. He was jailed several months ago on various charges, including criminal association with a terrorist enterprise and undermining state security. He says the charges were instigated by President Macky Sall and aimed at preventing him from running in presidential elections next year. In July, after years of uncertainty over his political future, Sall said he would not be seeking a third term in office in 2024. Sonko said his renewed action was a demonstration of solidarity with other activists who had been unjustly arrested for expressing their political opinions. Since 2021, there have been many protests in Senegal in support of Sonko, which have left dozens dead. Still in Africa, Malawi's President Lazarus Chakwera has expressed concern over the security of hundreds of Malawians in Israel amid escalating war between Israeli forces and Hamas. Chakwera expressed support for Israel and condemned the attack against unarmed civilians and the captivity of civilians by the militant Palestinian group Hamas. The Malawi leader calls for the cessation of the Gaza violence, which has drawn global attention. On the foreign scene, the U.S. Treasury has announced sanctions on 10 Hamas members, operatives and financial facilitators today, including a key commander, as conflict rages after the militant group's surprise attack on Israel. According to the U.S. agency in a statement, the new sanctions target individuals based in Gaza and elsewhere, including Sudan, Turkey, Algeria and Qatar. It would be recalled that Hamas launched a surprise assault inside Israel on October 7, killing 1,400 people. After Israel declared war and began retaliatory strikes, some 3,000 people have been killed in Gaza, according to Hamas health authorities. The sanctions come as President Joe Biden visits Israel today. Still on the foreign scene, Venezuelan government officials and representatives of the opposition have signed an agreement which lays some of the groundwork for presidential elections that will be recognized by both sides to be held. The government agreed to invite international observers to monitor the election, which has been scheduled for the second half of 2024. Reports say the agreement, which was signed in Barbados, constitutes a rare breakthrough after 11 month hiatus during which talks had stalled.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. Over now to our business news. In our business news, the federal government through the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) has said that electricity demand will grow to 45,662 megawatts by 2030. This was contained in a 2022 market competition report by the Commission. According to the report, the current generation capacity was lower than what was required to meet the estimated load demand of 17,556 megawatts per hour as of 2020 and that demand is expected to grow to 45,662 megawatts by 2030. Reports that the 28 generation companies made of both private and government-owned firms had not been able to generate more than a daily average of 4,059 megawatts as of December 2022. Still in business, the federal government, through the Solid Minerals Development Fund, SMDF, is making efforts to de-risk the country's mining sector and attract investment. The SMDF said it's partnered with the Africa Finance Corporation, AFC, to establish a portal for mining project sponsors, which would be managed by PwC. Speaking on the sidelines of the Nigerian Mining Week in Abuja, the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Solid Minerals Development Fund, Fatima Shinkafi, noted that there was a funding challenge for operators in the country's mining sector. In health, the federal government has made a commitment to end continuous contamination of drinking water sources, noting that no fewer than 41% of the country's public water supply is contaminated with feces. The Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utserv, said these at the launch of the Nigerian Roadmap for Water Quality Management and Guidelines for Rural Drinking Water Quality Monitoring Surveillance in Abuja. Utserv said the roadmap was an opportunity to change the poor narrative of water, sanitation and hygiene indices in the country. According to him, population have access to basic water supply services while only 13% have access to safely managed drinking water services. And still in health, the federal government has secured over 6 million doses of the human papillomavirus vaccine and essential supplies for the rollout of the vaccination for girls aged 9 to 14 years, meant to kick off on October 24, 2023. The Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Health Care Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, who disclosed this at a press briefing in Abuja, said the vaccine will help to prevent HPV infection and reduce the risk of cervical cancer. Faisal noted that while vaccination is the most potent prevention measures against HPV, women are encouraged to undergo regular screening tests for early detection and treatment. Reports say HPV is a common sexually transmitted infection that has silent harbinger of several types of cancers, including cervical cancer. To sports now, where a Spanish court has said today that Barcelona president Joan Laporta has been charged as part of investigation into alleged bribes paid to referees. The club itself and two of its former president, Josep Maria Bartomeu and Sandro Rosell, has, as well as the former head of Spain's referees body, Jose Maria Enriquez. Nigeria and his son have already been charged. Laporta has been charged in relation to his first spell as president of Barcelona from 2003 to 2010. In his report published today, the judge leading the investigation said, in his opinion, Laporta could not benefit from the statute of limitations because of the seriousness of the accusations. Nigeria allegedly earned over 7 million euros from Barcelona between 2001 to 2018, although companies supposedly producing refereeing report for the club. But while Barcelona, the 27-time Spanish champions, have been fighting off accusations for a month and deny any wrongdoing. Still in sport, Harry Maguire has criticized supporters who jeered Jordan Henderson during international matches at Wembley, saying proper England fans do not boo players. Henderson was booed off the pitch during Friday's 1-0 friendly win over Australia, admitting it was disappointing to be on the receiving end of a negative reaction. The 33-year-old came under fire when he swapped his role as Liverpool's keeper for the Saudi Pro League, joining Steven Gerrard's Al Ittifaq in July. The midfielder had been a high-profile supporter of LGBTQ rights during his time at Anfield, and last month apologized for any hurt he caused by moving to a country where homosexuality is illegal. There, where murmurs when Henderson's name was read out before Australia clashed, but a vocal minority audibly jeered when he was replaced in the second half, and a smattering of boos were heard as he came off the bench on Tuesday's 3-1 Euro 2024 qualifying win over Italy. Meanwhile, Maguire, who has been jeered by Manchester United and England supporters, said those who did turn on Henderson are not England fans. On our entertainment news, Nollywood actor Jim Ike says desperation made him seek healing for his mother from TB Joshua, the founder of Synagogue Church of All Nations, Koan. Recall that Nollywood star was seen in a video undergoing deliverance at Koan in 2013. However, in a recent interview with talk show host Teju Babyface, Ike regretted taking such step of desperation. Asomucha, the mother of Ike, passed away on April 1, 2014 after Joshua, on the other hand, died on June 5, 2021. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. I am Rachel David White. Good afternoon.